Welcome to SIM-PAC Live. I'm your host Jeff Matthews, and today we interview Nick Pearce from Weartek. Weartek is an innovation company specialising in high-performance sustainable workwear for various industries, including mining, emergency services, government agencies, construction and civil. Welcome, Nick.
G'day, Jeff. How you going? Really great to be here. Thanks for having me on your podcast here. I'm a big fan of SIM-PAC. We showed at the SIM-PAC this year earlier in Brisbane. It was a terrific show, full of really engaging people, really passionate and knowledgeable about the journey that we're all on, and it's such a diverse range of people. I was so energized after that show, not just from my own perspective, but from the group in general. It was really terrific, and really made some great connections there in terms of upstream capability. Some incredibly enlightened people with amazing ability that I've tapped into massively. I think I spoke on two panels,
Yeah.
and I think I've engaged just about every person that I was speaking with to some degree. And I'll tell you what, there is some real ability out there.
Yes. And I watched both of those sessions. You're in the textile session and the fashion session. I know you smiled and laughed at yourself being in the fashion session, but I think you pointed out 50% of Australians go to work in a uniform. Was that correct?
Yeah, I don't know if that's my stat, but it's pretty close. And look, I've been doing uniforms for a long time, and when I first came into it, it was such a light bulb moment for me, understanding how people wear clothes. I'd always known it, but never really, I guess, boiled it down. You and I choose clothes every day. Anybody watching this, has chosen something that they've to wear for that day deliberately. Whether that means it's to showcase, how they're feeling, who they are, or who they're working for. It's always a deliberate choice. So when you're wearing a uniform, if you're disempowered by that, by wearing something that is uncomfortable, ugly, it's not wearing well, then that has an effect on you. So, yeah, uniforms are really important because, it helps people through their day.
And also the actual quantity of material being produced every year. And until very recently, that material would probably go to the tip face. I imagine there's enormous figures, and your company's doing something about that. You're completely bought into the circularity of textiles, materials, and on clothes. Take us through what your company's doing and where you. I think you're a pioneer in this area. Take us through that journey of what started you and how difficult was it, and where you think we are.
Yeah, look, in terms of the actual functionality, the logistics of how we do it, we tap into people that are experts with this. That's how we do this. So the pioneers are the guys like Upcycle for Better, Cameron and his team that we have utilised, jumped into partnership with, doing an incredible job, and been doing it for a long time. It's funny, when you say, that we've been pioneers, I almost feel like a newcomer when I'm talking with guys like that because, they've been doing it for 10 years or so, breaking new ground. We're coming at it as a requirement for our total offering, and I guess that's probably where we are breaking new ground. We are really going out to the marketplace, to our clients, and saying we understand that sustainability has to be everyone's responsibility. So we want to enable people to make it easy. So our offering is very much that we just take responsibility. We saw some really great initiatives happening at textile shows over the last 5 to 10 years, really seeing what's possible in terms of circularity. And the reclaim part of it is such a massive part of that. So for us, reclaiming uniforms at the end of their life cycle means we can take control of that. We see that as our responsibility. We're a company that make clothes for people. That transaction shouldn't end when we deliver it. We see it as our responsibility to then take it back at the end of that life cycle and ensure that it's decommissioned responsibly. So that can happen in a couple of ways, and it does depend on the makeup of the fibres of the garment. So there is mechanical decommissioning and chemical decommissioning. So we will pull those triggers for whichever one of our garments that we're selling, and the upcycle for better guys take care of that. We have agreements in place. We just simply speak to them about what it is that they're picking up, how it is that we want it to be decommissioned, and then we go through from there. Everything's reported on, everything's delivered with full visibility.
Fantastic. And what have you found the feedback like from companies that you say you've got the scheme in place, and are they appreciative because your scope 1 emissions are their scope 3 emissions? It's still they can report it in their ESG as well.
Look, it's been an incredible response. It really has. We are specialist fire resistant workers, fire retardant garments. So that was an obstacle initially. The full circularity and sustainability started for us through a non-FR lens, and we built that to accommodate that area. We wanted to come in to the non-FR world with a reason. We just didn't want to be producing more cheap high-vis. Our stuff had to be good. That's who we are as a company. But we needed to have a purpose. It really needed to hit those sustainability and circularity measures. When we solved those problems and we were able to deliver Weartek Zero, we went out pretty proudly to our FR clients, really just giving them updates on what we were doing. And overwhelmingly, like 100% of the time, the feedback from our clients was, well, can you do this with FR? And, I was sitting there in these conversations saying, well, we can't do it all, but yeah, I reckon we can do some of that. So we did. We changed our focus. We were pretty driven and narrow focused on what we were trying to achieve with the non-FR. But just getting that feedback from our clients wanting to have this option was really enlightening. So we just pulled that trigger and said, well, we've just got to do it. We've just got to make that be better as part of our offering. So we did that. We spread our reclaim promise across to our non-FR, in which we're doing now. We've had 2 collections so far, one with FR, one with non-FR. So that's going to roll out. We're just going to continue to do that wherever we can. We offer this to our clients. If they want to embrace that, then we will absolutely make that happen for them. Look, if they don't, then it's an education opportunity for us to continue to work with them.
Yeah, and I know at SIM-PAC you talked about design. There was a lot of talk in those panels about you've got to start with design, and I think you said you were lucky that you'd started with design because it's much cheaper. $1 spent in a design. I think somebody else Carl Ludwig used the cost of $100 to solve that problem later on.
Yeah,
and. Tell us, and you said that you're glad you started there. Tell us about your design process, because it's not just fashion design. It's the design of the life cycle of the product is really what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, that's an ongoing, ever-changing thing. Developments are happening so fast all the time in the decommissioning areas. So to start off designing with the end in mind is just a really pragmatic approach to design, like understanding how complex a garment needs to be in terms of componentry, in terms of what we're delivering, so that at the end cycle part of it, when we do go into decommissioning, we're not making life hard or too difficult for the recyclers. We're minimising waste wherever we can, and in some instances, we're really trying to embrace repurposing with some of the componentry. So some of the areas or the products that we utilise are very robust and will have second lives in other garments. They might not be our garments, but they will be intact in whole for other garments. So our abrasion panels, for instance, particularly the FR stuff like that, there's no need for that to go into shredding. Like that can be reused in other areas for other people's products, and that's what we've empowered Upcycle for Better to do. We've gone through that pretty extensively, and we'll continue to work with them to say, look, these are areas where these parts can be repurposed. Some of them, won't be, and they'll be shredded, turned into fibre, and will find their way back through the circular cycle back into the apparel areas.
Because every little thing on a garment adds complexity to that end, that decommissioning. Your buttons, zippers, rivets, reflective tape, whatever. So
That's right.
and that's what you're talking about. Choices at the design will pay a lot. Will make life easier towards at the end when you're decommissioning.
Yeah, and look, we're just getting better with this. That's what's so exciting, because we're a part of this with everyone else. We're learning as we go. The stuff that we're doing today will be different to what we do tomorrow, because the evolution, that the science is really getting better and better in terms of how we can recycle, repurpose things, how they can come back into part of that circularity of the clothing cycle. We're working with some really key partners on a lot of this, and our message to them in terms of the upstream partnerships has been sustainability and circularity needs to be embraced wherever we can. That's the message that we're getting from our clients, from our end users, and look, we see this as market opportunity. It's no longer just a worldview. It certainly feels good to do this because we really believe in it. But overwhelmingly, this is a market choice. There is opportunity out there to get ahead on this with big government organisations, big companies reporting back to shareholders for full transparent responsibility. In part of that, what we're actually doing further than where we were at SIM-PAC is digital product passports. We've embraced that opportunity, and we're working with a US company, PicoNext, on developing quite a unique digital product passport for Weartek products. It will be in line with EU regulations, but we actually want to take it further. Our vision for this is really big. We think we can add a lot of value to our clients for what we do. We're planning on a heap of information on these digital product passports to enable our clients to report better through ESG reporting. We want to have transparency involved in that so that we can show our supply chain to our clients. We want to be able to say, look, we are a micro company, but our supply chain is one of the biggest in the world. And we're really proud of who we do work with, and we want to showcase that. So that's going to be coming. We're working very hard and very fast on this, and it's actually going to be ready very soon.
Right, incredible. Because transparency in the supply chains is something that's it's vitally important, and there's a whole lot of companies that want to do work like you. They want to be sustainable, but they don't really have transparency over the supply chain. So that's how hard have you found it to get transparency over some of the materials and the things you source?
Yeah, and look, it ties back in with what we were just speaking about before in terms of design choices and who we do business with, how we're building things, what we're making them out of, like really responsible choices with our partnerships to say, look, this has to be about quality of products and about integrity of that supply chain, knowing where it's coming from. So they're the choices that we've made in order to have that transparency ability. I've been in the apparel industry a very long time, and transparency is not something that apparel is known for. People will hide their supply chains till their grave. They will keep it with them. I think that's the wrong approach. I think we've got to change that. We've got to get out there and say, no, look, this is who we're doing business with. We're really proud. We're really proud of these collaborations because these partnerships have enabled us to be better. Weartek, we're pretty good at what we do, but we're enabled by our supply chain partners and our collaboration with them and how we empower them to help us be better. So we sit down often and say, look, how can we make this better? It's not about maximizing margins. It's really about utilizing the components in the best way, about utilizing everything in the most efficient way so that the product that we're delivering is the best possible thing that we can.
Yeah, fantastic. Because I've just released a podcast this morning called The Compelling Truth, and it was looking at ESG reporting and sustainability reporting, and it was really me saying, don't lose sight of the compelling truth. And if the compelling truth is that you've only got transparency over 40% of your supply chain, embrace that. Because a lot you could do worse, and what are you going to do about the 60%? Well, you're going to try and get transparency, and if not, you're going to shift supply chains. And that's what it may take in here, because some of these supply chains may never give you that transparency as you see. So if you're then wanting, your clients need transparency over your business, need transparency over the supply chain, you're going to have to end up moving supply chains eventually if they won't give you transparency.
I think we should embrace that. I think we should really be encouraging of each other to say, look, this is going to be a transition and a journey for everybody. The language that we use with the digital product passport from the Pico Next team, we talk about Horizon 1, Horizon 2, Horizon 3. So
right.
Our Horizon 1 product is transparency as we know it. We deliver the information that we have. That will be going to a blockchain when we're ready to press the OK button on that. Once that's there, that's locked, and that's how it is. And we're going to stand by that, knowing that will change. So Horizon 2 will be better. And for a long time, I even just as a person, as a designer, I always wanted to hold on to something until it was absolutely perfect. I would just keep on going and going and just improving and improving until we released it, and it was absolutely perfect and amazing. But I've realised now that that's the wrong approach. You just need to keep learning as you go, deliver products for people as best you can, with full integrity as best you know it. Deliver those and just keep on improving. So
Yeah.
continuous improvement is the message
Yes.
for us as a company, knowing that tomorrow we're going to be better than we are today. That doesn't mean that we've failed today. We're just simply doing what we can. Tomorrow will be better, and that's what we're really trying to embrace and give that to our company partners to say, we're going to deliver these products for you in the absolute best way that we can.
Yeah.
But when you go to reorder in 6 months' time, we're going to have something that's better again. And for me, that's really exciting because
Yes.
it's continuous improvement, but continuous evolution.
Yeah, and it keeps you excited about going to work every day and what you're doing, and you can see that you've got a passion for this. And also, it is important to embrace where we are now. The compelling truth is nobody's perfect. There's no probably true circularity while we're still using
That's
fossil fuels to shift everything around. You've got subsistence farming, and that's about it. But it shouldn't stop us from starting on the journey. It shouldn't stop us from being the best that we can be today. And that seems what you're doing.
Yeah, look, I mean, apparel is a big contributor. We all know we spoke about the landfill disasters that are happening all around the world all the time. That was a big driver for our no landfill reclaim.
Yeah.
We're a tiny part of that, but if we can embrace that, if we can do that, then everybody can. And we want to be the best that we can be. We want to be able to offer that to our clients so that they can really embrace that. A big change in, I guess, the delivery of that information for us was when we were doing some work with a new client of ours, J&P Richardson in Brisbane, who have just recently rolled into Actemium. We really spoke about the reclaim being part of their culture in their business, so that typically, and as all uniform high vis people would do, that you get a uniform, you keep it, you chuck it out, and then you get another one. We said, no, let's change that. Let's change those habits in the workplace, and we expect what we're going to find is that that's going to have an impact on those workers and their families. To say, no, you shouldn't throw that out. We can do something with that. We can recycle it. We can decommission it. We can do different things rather than just throwing it away, because there is no away. That's what we've got to come to.
Yeah.
And apparel for a long, long time has been almost in the too hard basket. Everybody knows how big a problem it is, but it always seemed too far, too big to solve.
Yes.
And there are some real leaders out there in the recycling and the repurposing areas that I absolutely admire and salute. And we're really thrilled to be working with them and making choices to grow their business and empower them to be even better.
Yes. Yes. And it was what motivated me to put such an emphasis on fashion textile design at SIM-PAC was the picture that went around on the internet 2 years ago now, of the pile of clothing in the Atacama Desert that was photographed from space, and that this was mostly new clothing from the top brands, and it was dumped in the Atacama Desert. And given that the atmosphere there, that's probably going to be there for 500 years. There's no way for it to decompose. And I found it completely outrageous. And that's what motivated me to get guys like you and the other great people you had on those panels, because you were actually doing something, and you were showing a way that you could, in fact, get this done and improve and start today instead of just putting stuff in the Atacama Desert.
Yeah, that's right. And I think what we can all do is contribute to say, well, what can we do at my level? Um, no one's going to solve this on their own. If everybody starts to change, starts to make better choices, then that gets heard. It becomes about market choice, so that when we are influencing small areas, what happens is that influence echoes and reverberates. So what we're doing in one area becomes greater because those people then take that away and talk about it. They're influenced by it. That contribution then leads to other contribution. And when you start really having impacts like that, the market influence becomes bigger. So that when we talk about circularity, when we talk about sustainability and ESG reporting, people start to look at those things and say, well, if a little company like Weartek can do this, why aren't the other guys doing it? Why isn't everyone doing this? Um, it's about taking responsibility,
Yes,
um, and contributing. They're such key
yes.
factors to who we are.
And one of the things, one of the reasons I'm interviewing you today is you are showing leadership, and I get worried about the theme within ESG is don't put your head above the parapet, stay in the pack. Is a term for it. It's called green crowding. Stay with the crowd. And actually, it's the smaller innovators and companies and people driven like yourself that are actually saying, well, no, we're not comfortable being part of the track. We want to actually be part of the pack. We want to go forward and show some leadership. I've got a question. Is your is your position in the market growing? Are people being driven to you because they've heard about you and heard about what you're doing in the area of sustainability? I hope they are. I hope you're getting more successful.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, opportunities like this to spread the word and educate people is certainly going to help with that. Look, this is early days for sustainability and circularity with what we're doing. It is still an intriguing thing for people. It's a curiosity, and it's for a lot of parts of the community. It's business as usual, with a quirky little thing on the side. Sustainability, circularity. Is it real? How do you do it? So it's early days, but that's okay. Like that's where we can have the most fun. That's where we can really contribute and direct the conversation to say, well, yeah, let's do this. Let's see where we can take it. Let's contribute as much as we can. SIM-PAC was such a valuable arena for that because we were all getting up there speaking about our experiences and about our own initiatives and almost turning to each other going, oh, you're doing that too. Cool. Let's combine our resources and actually, work together. So
Yeah,
it it's going to continue to evolve,
yeah,
and people are coming towards it. Um, there needs to be more. It does need to be embraced more. I think governments are starting to really move that way and
yeah,
really understanding that society's position is that they want this. They do want to move towards that, but they need guidance, and governments are the best position to do that, to help incentivize companies to make that choice. So for Weartek, we make high vis PVC, FR, non-FR. So a lot of companies in the past and still now view that as commodities. It's just you get it as cheap as you can, you chuck it out, you get some more. We're trying to change that conversation to say, look, we can do this in a better way, to say we can make it better. And by doing that, it actually lasts longer. So your cost comparison on the full cycle is actually going to improve. We're going to make this better for you. The initial purchase sometimes is the main conversation point. But over time, these companies end up winning. That's still a conversation that's going through. And what I think can be enhanced is that governments really help big companies, government organisations make better decisions by guiding them either with incentivisation in whatever form that takes, whether it's additional tender points, whether it's monetary. We've still got a lot of work to do on carbon credits. We've still got a lot to do on where that reward is, rather than just feel good factor, shareholder acknowledgement. That's kind of where we are right now. But I think that is changing very quickly. And there's a lot of people like us that are doing it. We embrace the change, we see the opportunity, and what we can do is to make it better. A real fundamental part of how we approach this is that it's not sustainability for sustainability's sake.
Yep.
Everything that we do works better because of sustainability. We never take a step backwards. If we have to take a step backwards to achieve sustainability, then we stop and we work it out, because that's not how we achieve anything. We can't ask people to compromise. We have to continue to be excellent in everything that we do. But to bring sustainability to that is then an enhanced position. So
Yep.
that's where we need to get to. We can't have excuses. We can't say, oh, this isn't as good as it was because it's sustainable, so therefore it's okay. That's not acceptable. It has to be as good as it always was, if not better, plus sustainable.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. I've got one last thing. I did ask you at SIM-PAC, but I'll ask you here again. See if it's something's changed. If you could change one thing tomorrow that would help you on this journey, or help the whole industry on this journey, what would you change?
Yeah, and it's such a great question, because what it does is it really makes people think about narrowing that focus and about how to deliver what's your message from your industry. And what I can see is what I was just talking about then, about incentivization, either from governments or the big business leaders, companies that want to lead, to say, look, this is the right thing to do. We know that it's going to come through. There's going to be financial benefits out of this into the future, if not now. But more than that, it will be societal benefit. And in the long game, that improves companies' positions. Everybody's out there trying to do their best. What we can do is to embrace each other and say, how can you help us do this? That's what we're trying to do, to solve people's problems, to say, let us come in and help you. And so for us to get a greater voice in that, to say to people, look, there's an incentive now for you to purchase the most sustainable gear. You're already buying this gear. You're not making a new line item on a spreadsheet. It's not a new cost area in procurement. You're buying this stuff. We want you to make the most sustainable choice, because it's better, it's sustainable, price equivalence across the cycle is there. What we need is for governments to really help incentivize that more and put more focus on that, so that the choice when it comes to big business saying, well, should we pull this trigger? Are we really going to do this? Are we going to go there? It becomes an easier choice for them, because once they're in, they're never going to back out. They're always going to maintain that.
Yeah. Don't go backwards, like you said. Look, Nick, thank you. Great chat. Thank you. It's inspiring to see what you're doing at Weartek. I encourage everyone who's in the market for uniforms and for FR gear and fluoro gear to check out your website. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I love the opportunity. And again, really, really pleased to be part of the SIM-PAC community. Really inspiring people, and we're doing good work that helps each other.
Thank you.